Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 horror film Three Demons. A film that is co-written and directed by Matt Cunningham, and it stars Peter Tell and Hayley Heslip. Now the film opens with a former police officer being interviewed by what I presume is like a psychiatrist or a psychologist in a secure location, secure cell sort of thing. Almost like the John Carpenter film In the Mouth of Madness, the Sam Neill character when he's kind of interviewed in the cell at the beginning and end of that film. A little bit similar to that. And she's trying to find out what happened sometime previously, about a year previously, to this police officer. And we learn that he turns up at like a crime scene, and he is asked by his superior to essentially guard a body that has been covered up at this crime scene for, the procedures to be followed and like family members to come and collect, all this kind of stuff. So he's left at his own at this crime scene with this body, and unwittingly while there he kind of completes this ritual. And then following that, he is then set upon by some evil spirits that proceed to descend his character into madness. Right, what are my thoughts on Three Demons? Well, this is a low budget film, and while the majority of this film happens at this like crime scene, and there's only really three characters to speak of in this film. You've got this police officer that's guarding the crime scene, played by Peter Tell. You've got, I think it's his superior. I think like she's the sheriff. It's the Hayley Heslip character, Winters. And then you've got this psychiatrist interviewing him. So for the most part, it's just these three characters. So it can feel a little bit insular, a little bit claustrophobic, I suppose, because it's just really the majority of it is in one location. And while the film's setup is a little bit weak, because of that, I think the second half of this film is actually pretty good and quite watchable. And what I mean by that, it's almost Lovecraftian in regards to some of the imagery that we see on display. I mean, when he starts descending into madness almost, and he is like almost tortured by these spirits, and he's seeing all sorts of creepy imagery and frightening things that would send anybody mad. I think what's quite clever about this film is the fact that it taps into a lot of people's fears, and I think it does that reasonably successfully. The image of like the white sheet, someone putting on a white sheet. I mean, it's almost comical that you think that this film can get away with it, but it actually does, and it does it quite cleverly, because it's not necessarily the white sheet that you see that is scary. It's like what's associated with it, like the noises, and something you can see like the eyes behind the sheet and like blood soaking through them, and it just taps into like this primal fear that we've all kind of got. And I think this film, while it is low budget, one of the real strongest elements of it, I think personally, are the effects. We actually see some really good practical effects here for the demons, I suppose. One in particular stands out, but also there's like some good practical effects put on some of the characters to make them look demonic, and the noises that go with them, like the crunching and the snapping and the it's just, they get the sound design and I think the effects side of this film quite right, I think, and it gives you this uneasy creepiness while you're watching the film. You never really feel comfortable. And it's almost as well, I mean, it also reminded me very much, this film, of Evil Dead. The Bruce Campbell out in the woods with the cabin, descending slowly into madness, and being absolutely harassed and tortured by the demonic spirits in that wood. this very much taps into Evil Dead territory as well. So it kind of borrows heavily from a lot of classics, I think, but it does it in quite a respectful way, and I think it manages to be reasonably successful. But it does have its drawbacks as well. Like I say, it's just this one location. It does overuse some imagery, I think, this film. And I do genuinely question why. I mean, because he goes rooting about and this kind of finds like these ritual books and things. Why he chose to put this body in like this position that essentially finished this ritual. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to any rational human being. If I looked at some creepy books and there's a dead body on the floor, and this diagram in this book of this dodgy demonic looking book tells me to put this body in a certain position, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't, I wouldn't even use a Ouija board. I would never want to test fate. So it kind of doesn't make sense why he would do what he did. But ultimately, the results are quite creepy. Lots of freaky imagery, a couple of scary moments here and there, and some good practical effects make for a reasonably effective film, even if it does have some drawbacks. So I'm going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. I thought it was fairly effective for what it was trying to do, especially with the budget that it had at its disposal. So I hope you found this review useful. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.